Somewhere out there in a dusty box in somebody's basement, there's a record that shouldn't exist. A Beatles record. Not from Capitol, not from EMI, but from a tiny black owned label founded in Gary, Indiana. Yeah, Gary. And the wildest part, that moment, that decision, that little sliver of music history, it all traces back to one woman. A woman with a voice, a record shop, and a belief that Gary deserved to be heard. But this episode isn't about the Beatles. This is about the woman who heard the future and the city that raised her.
I'm from Gary where the steel turn cold, but the love run deep and the stories go bold. Yeah, the city made me put that on my soul. 29 in my veins, that's all I know. From the west to the east, we rise, we grow. Part of the region, yeah, we built on hope. Ain't perfect, but it's still my home. Gary on my back everywhere I go.
Picture Gary in the early 1950s. Steel mills glowing like giant furnaces. Families pouring in from the South, chasing opportunity, kids running up and down Broadway, music flowing out of porches, bars, corner stores, everywhere. Gary wasn't perfect, but it was alive. It was loud. It was full of people dreaming bigger than their circumstance. And right in the middle of all that sound was a young black woman with a microphone. Her name was Vivian Carter. If you lived in Gary back then, you knew her voice. She was on WWCA, spinning the newest R&B, the rawest blues, the harmonies that made teenagers fall in love. Vivian didn't just play records. She curated the culture. She had that rare gift. She could hear a song once and know whether it would move people. Her laugh, her energy, her taste, it made her a star in the city. People trusted her ear. People followed her sound. And that sound was about to change everything. Vivian and her husband, Jimmy Bracken, opened a little record shop on Broadway. Nothing fancy, just a storefront with speakers blasting the newest music out onto the street. But that shop became a magnet. Kids crowded around the window. People came in on lunch breaks just to hear what Vivian was playing. It was a hangout spot, a community hub, a place where music felt like a possibility. And one day, Vivian realizing something. She just wasn't selling music, she was discovering it. Then came the moment. A group of teenagers from Roosevelt High School walked into the shop. Nervous, hopeful, carrying harmonies they've been practicing in hallways and stairwells. They called themselves the Spaniels. Vivian listened, head tilted, eyes locked, and she heard something the world hadn't heard yet. She said, "Let's record it." Next thing you know, her mother's garage became a studio. They cut a record, and that record, "Baby It's You," becomes a national R&B hit. And just like that, Gary wasn't just a steel town anymore. Gary was a music town. Vivian and Jimmy turned that momentum into a label, Vee Jay Records, named after their initials V and J. And the sound that came out of VJ, it was the sound of the city. Blues that felt like the South, doo-wop that felt like Friday nights, soul that felt like church basements, R&B that felt like rebellion. Jimmy Reed, John Lee Hooker, Betty Everett, the Dells. These weren't just artists, they were voices that shaped American music. And they were all flowing through a label born from a Gary record shop. Before Motown, before the industry caught on, VJ was already doing it. A black-owned label competing with the biggest names in the country. And then the twist. Capitol Records passed on the Beatles. Didn't think they'd sell. Didn't think America would care. But Vivian Carter, she heard something. She took a chance. And the first Beatles record in America, the ones that cracked open the door to Beatlemania, were released by a label founded in Gary, Indiana. Let that sit for a moment. But again, this isn't their story. This is hers. Vee Jay grew fast, maybe too fast. Money got tight, lawsuits piled up, distribution deals got messy, and eventually the label collapsed. But here's the thing, not every pioneer gets to finish the journey. Some just opened the road, and Vivian Carter opened the road. Vivian didn't just build a label, she built a blueprint. She showed what Gary could be, bold, visionary, ahead of his time. She proved that greatness doesn't need permission. It just needs someone who can hear it. And that's the part people forget. Gary has always created giants, from the Spaniels to the Jacksons to the creators grinding today. This city has always been bigger than the box people try to put it in. Vivian Carter is proof. So yeah, out there's a Beatles record with a Gary fingerprint on it. But the real story, the one that matters, is about a woman from Gary who trusted her ear, trusted her city, and trusted her vision. And if a record shop on Broadway could change the world once, who's to say it can't happen again?
I'm from Gary where the steel turned cold, but the love